Yes, autumn is most definitely here, and we can see it in the weather, in the temperature change, and just how our plants are behaving in the garden. Now, you may be wondering, what are the jobs I should do in autumn? Well, if you want to know the 10 jobs that I recommend doing in early autumn, then stay tuned. Hello, I'm Rachel from Douentza Garden in Ireland, and you're very welcome to this video all about the 10 jobs for early autumn. Now, I garden in what roughly equates to as hardiness zone 9. Take that as a rough guide because we don't use that system here in Ireland. However, it will give you an idea of how temperatures are here and what jobs you should do. So I guess let's kick off with the first job to do in autumn. It may be September, but there are plants in your garden that still have a lot left to give. So keep on deadheading your annuals and your dahlias. If you do keep deadheading, then you can have flowers that keep going until the first frosts, and that might be November. And that brings me on to the second job to do in September, which relates to deadheading. Don't be too assiduous. When you are deadheading now at this stage, mark 3 individuals from each type of plant that you want to collect the seed from. Mark it with an elastic band, as I'm doing here, or a little bit of coloured wool, so that you will know not to deadhead that particular flower, and when it sets seeds you can come back and collect the seed and have seed for next year. And this also relates to dahlias. If you're planning on collecting the seed from your dahlias to sow them, then mark the plants now. Early September is the perfect time to pot on seedlings. These may be seedlings of perennials or biennials, even annuals that you've sown in your greenhouse. You'll recall my recent video where I sowed a whole load of delphiniums and some snapdragons and some salvias. So I am potting those on now. And the reason for potting on in early September is that it gives the roots a chance to re-establish. If we have a really cold winter and you have recently repotted your seedlings, then you may lose them. And that's because every time you touch those roots and repot the seedlings, you damage them slightly and make them a little more vulnerable to the cold weather. So repot them now, pot them on now, and you won't have problems even if you do have a cold winter later on. And just speaking of seedlings, I haven't mentioned this as a separate task because personally I'm not a big fan of sowing annuals in autumn, but if you do and if you want to, then sow those annuals now. It may be autumn, but it's time to think of spring and what's going to come in that wonderful season that we all so look forward to after winter. It's time to order your spring bulbs. Now, September might be the time to plant daffodils, it certainly is, but it's a bit early for planting tulips. That means there's still plenty of time to order your tulip bulbs. And if you've watched my channel for a while, you will be pleased to know that next spring I plan on going full Klaus Dalby. Oh yes, like I've done before, I am ordering lots of beautiful, beautiful tulips and plan on doing lots of pots for the front of the house and looking forward to those amazing displays. Some tulips that will flower in April and some that will flower a little bit later in May, so that I will have hopefully 2 months of tulip display. And if you are wondering where to order your tulips from, then may I remind you about Bulby, which is my tulip and bulb supplier of choice. They're based in the Netherlands, but they ship to the UK and to the EU. So you just need to select the website that applies to where you are. And if you order now from Bulby, you can use a discount code which will give you 10% off the already very cheap prices. And I do mean very cheap. Just compare the prices on the Bulby website against any other bulb supplier out there, and I bet that Bulby is going to come out on tops in terms of value for money. It may be wet and windy in September, but if you can manage it between the raindrops, do go out there and keep up with the weeding. So any work you do now in removing weeds will stand you in good stead for spring. Job number 6 for early autumn is to clip hedges. Not all hedges, just some hedges. So in my garden, for example, the bays, the bay hedging, the bay topiary is very important, and I like to look out my window in winter when there's not much going on in the garden, but at least see those neat forms standing there, reminding me of what's to come in the year ahead. So in September, it's a good idea to clip your bays. Also privet in my garden and lonicera, and if you have yew, then it might be a good idea to do that as well. Job number 7 for early autumn is to lift any plants in pots that have gone dormant. Now this specifically relates to Calla lilies in my garden. I grow a lot of them and they look fantastic in front of the house all through the summer, but at this stage there's not much left. It's time to take them out of their pots, disperse the spent compost around the garden, and dry store these bulbs for next spring. Job number 8 relates to your lawn. You'll find a lot of leaves falling down and covering the lawn. They begin in September and that keeps on going until all the leaves have fallen from the trees. It's a good idea to rake them up. I tend to make them into leaf mould, which I find just such a wonderful addition to the garden, but you do with them as you will. And while you're at it, why not give your lawn a little TLC and repair any damage that's been done? I'll link at the end of this video to one where I show you how to repair bits on the lawn. A great thing to do right now and even in a month's time. Task number 9 relates to planting things out. Autumn is a wonderful time to plant things in your garden, whether they're shrubs or trees or perennials, and you can do that. One thing I have found, however, is that certain borderline tender plants, like maybe the subshrub salvias or maybe some trees and shrubs that are borderline, are best planted in spring, and that's just because if you have a particularly harsh winter you might lose them. If you have a regular winter it'll be okay, but just bear that in mind. And of course you can start dividing plants. So I keep a list of things that need dividing. I don't divide every year or every 2 or 3 years as is recommended, but whenever a plant outgrows its space or starts flowering less than it should. And that job starts right now. And then finally, task number 10 is to just keep an eye on the temperatures. I still have a lot of house plants out in the greenhouse and it is good for them to be out there during the summer. But in September temperatures can drop. Last night we had 7 degrees centigrade, which is 44 Fahrenheit, which is definitely too low for certain house plants. So look at perhaps bringing them into the house, or at least shut up the greenhouse at night to give them a little bit more protection. You've probably been used to leaving your greenhouse doors and windows open all through the summer, but now heading into autumn it's time to keep an eye on that and close them if temperatures are dropping. And those are my 10 tasks for early autumn. I hope you found them useful. Maybe you can jot some things down below. Of course, anything that you might do in late autumn, you could start doing it now. But these are the things I like to prioritise and get on with so that I can be ahead of the game when we get into autumn proper. Thank you as always for watching this video. And if you're planning on ordering some spring bulbs, and why wouldn't you, don't forget Bulby, my bulb supplier of choice, and my 10% discount code, which I'll link to in the video description down below. They really are a wonderful place to get those bulbs in now and look forward to spring colour. And I will see you on the next video. Bye!